Wow, these banners actually make sense. Hey everyone, Sharkheart here. I am still getting over a cold, so please excuse my voice. It is currently 4 a.m. and I couldn't sleep, so I figured I'd make this video. And because it's so early, I'm trying to keep a little bit quiet so I don't disturb anyone. So I hope you enjoy this banner review with Six Shark ASMR, or Sasmer. The one thing that really surprised me about the character and weapon banners is that they actually make sense. Let's talk about the character banner first, and then we'll move on to the weapon banner, which is a bit more tantalizing. For the 5 stars, we have Emilie and Yelan. I've already done a review of these characters and who is the best in patch 4.8, so if you want to know more details on them, check out that video, which I'll have linked in the description. But to quickly summarize, both of these characters are good. Yelan offers more value for more people's accounts and is very free-to-play friendly. She works well in half the teams in the game and also hits pretty hard. And Emilie is a strong dendro damage dealer, but only if there is a burning enemy around, and she's a very weak dendro character when there's no burning enemy nearby. A lot of people probably aren't going to see her true value right now, but characters from Natlan like Kinnick coming in 5.0 or the Pyro Archon could make her a lot more valuable. And while it's never a good idea to pull a character hoping they'll become more valuable in the future, we'll at least get to see what Kinnick does before this banner ends, so we'll know how well they pair together. So now let's talk about the 4 stars. We've got Xiangling, Yanfei, and Razor. Out of these 3 rate up 4 stars, Xiangling is the best by far. Even though everyone gets a copy of her for free, her Constellation 4 is a huge power spike. Increasing the duration of her elemental burst by 40% does tons for her damage. She's also a great pairing with Emilie or Yelan, because with Emilie, she can easily maintain burning, and with Yelan, she can very easily trigger vaporize because her elemental burst does not have any internal cooldown, so it can apply pyro on every single hit, which very few characters can do. So if you are planning to wish on this banner, you definitely want to see several copies of Xiangling, especially getting her to Constellation 4. Next we have Yanfei, and she's a solid 4 star, but doesn't feel great to play in my opinion. Her attacks have good range, but they lock her down, and it's really hard, if not impossible, to animation cancel them and still have the attacks come out. Her Constellation 4 gives her a really chunky shield equal to 45% of her max HP when she uses her elemental burst, and this allows for a very interesting build where you can stack a lot of HP on Yanfei and just make her your team shielder. Just to give you an idea, Constellation 4 Yanfei with 30,000 HP will give you a shield value of 13,500, which is like 80% of most characters' max HP. The downside is that the shield is not only tied to her Constellation 4, but also her elemental burst, so you'll have to build a lot of energy recharge to keep it up, and that means building less HP, which means a smaller shield. For damage, she's okay, but I wouldn't play her unless she's C6, but then again, I don't really like the way Yanfei feels to play, and her C6 giving her an extra seal for more damage and extra stamina reduction when using a charged attack makes her feel so much stronger and better to play. And while I may not enjoy playing Yanfei that much, it makes sense that she's on this banner because she does work well with Emilie and Yelan as an on-field DPS. Finally, we have Razor, the odd one of the bunch. Razor is a physical damage dealer that does really well in the early game but falls off in the mid and late game. His elemental burst summons a JoJo's wolf stand that deals electro damage with each hit while Razor still does physical damage. This allows for some interesting builds and some fun meme teams that are actually pretty strong. Razor built with lots of elemental mastery and C6 Bennett or Chevreuse can hit pretty hard and ends up being a lot better for some scenarios than using Razor as just a physical carry. For constellations, Razor's C4 is really good, giving a 15% defense shred when using his elemental skill. Reducing the enemy's defense is really rare, especially for a 4 star, and defense and resistance are different, so stacking defense shred and resistance shred actually increases your damage by a lot. That being said, Razor doesn't have much of a place on this banner. He's not good with Emilie because she wants burning, and Razor can very easily mess that up, and while he does work with Yelan, so do half the other characters in the game. And now we get to the weapon banner, which is actually pretty good for once. For 5 stars we have Aqua Simulacra and Lumiduce Elegy. That's the bow and spear and Yelan and Emilie's respective signature weapons. Both are pretty good, and more than anything, they're just good stat sticks. Aqua gives high crit damage and has low base attack for a 5-star, and Lumideus gives crit rate and has the standard base attack for a 5-star. Neither one of these weapons is bad, and many characters can use them, so the 5 stars are pretty good overall. And next we have the 4 stars, Favonius Warbow, the Flute, Wandering Evenstar, Favonius Lance, and Machaira Aquamarine. Now this is what we like to see on a weapon banner. Straight off the bat, 2 Favonius weapons is great, and the 2 that are on this banner are even more value than normal. If there was a Favonius sword, that would be the dream, but instead we have the Flute, which is the worst weapon out of the 4 stars. I guess we can't have it all, but we do get 2 really good Favonius weapons, and they're both really good for Emilie and Yelan. The Favonius Warbow is one of Yelan's best weapons because it gives her a lot of energy recharge, which she really needs. It has low base attack, but that does not matter, since Yelan's damage scales from her max HP. Emilie also wants energy recharge, but not as much as Yelan, and it's better to focus on attack and crit for her than it is to focus on building a lot of energy recharge. And luckily the Favonius Lance has high base attack for a 4-star, and gives energy recharge while also generating colorless particles to help out Emilie and the rest of the team. The reason these weapons have so much more value compared to normal is because they also work very, very well on Yelan and Emilie, meaning that you don't need to wish all the way for a 5-star weapon, gambling and hoping to get one of their signature weapons. The fab weapons work great on them, and they solve a lot of issues that these characters have. And because the Favonius weapons are just really helpful for any account, if you do plan on wishing for this banner, hopefully a lot of them show up for you. As for the other weapons, they're definitely not as good as the Favonius Warbow or Favonius Lance. The Wandering Evenstar and Machaira Aquamarine are the same weapon, just in a different form. They both have Elemental Mastery as a substat and increase the user's attack by a percentage of their EM, and also gives this attack bonus to the rest of the team, albeit in a lesser amount. Both of these weapons have their uses, but neither one is a preferred option over other weapons in their category, especially with some event and free-to-play weapon options that totally outclass them. But if you weren't able to get some of these limited time weapon options like the Mailed Flower, then these weapons can be good for several characters. And then there's the Flute. It's okay, it gives you attack percent and builds up stacks to do a small AoE, but it's nothing special. Honestly, there are just better free-to-play options than the Flute, so you really don't want to see this if you're planning to wish on the weapon banner. So overall, how good are the banners? The character banner is okay. There aren't the greatest characters, but at least there's good synergy between the 4 stars and 5 stars, albeit a bit more restrictive with Emilie. The weapon banner is much better than normal, and I would go as far as to say that if you're planning to pull for Yelan or Emilie, you might want to consider a few wishes on this weapon banner after you get them. And it's not because of the 5-star weapons, but because of the 4 stars. Now, if you're going for Yelan, you don't need to do this because you already get a Favonius Warbow for free at an early adventure rank, but refinements can be nice, making its passive a lot more consistent for energy generation. But if you're wishing for Emilie and don't have a good weapon for her, the Favonius Lance is a great option. But remember, before you make any wishing decision, you can wait for the August 16th livestream to see more about Natlan and what's coming up in the 5.0 expansion. We'll get to see who's coming in that patch, and that way you can make better decisions about where you'd like to wish, and if you want to do a lot of wishing now, or if you want to save for the new expansion, potentially go for some of the new characters, or maybe some rerun characters. I hope this video has been helpful. Let me know who you're pulling for in the comments below. Feel free to stop by on Twitch, sub for more sharkiness. We're almost at 100K! I love you all, stay jawsome, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.